Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, what we have here is Emma Watson really just getting slammed by J.K. Rowling, and rightfully so. Now, I can't say that I support a lot of J.K. Rowling's politics. In fact, I would be very heavy against her politics and a lot of things, especially what's going on in currently the UK. But what Emma Watson is, she is a person that goes the line whatever fits the narrative. So when the narrative is not going very well for the trans people, this is what she'll do. And this is a thing for a lot of leftists or celebrities in general, where they always want to be on the good side and never on the bad side or have their own views. They don't have their own views. They're not capable of having their own views. So this is just the result of it. We have this here from the That Dark Place saying Emma Watson suddenly softens on J.K. Rowling rhetoric as online threats against author escalate. Yeah, so we have this here. The Emma Watson J.K. Rowling feud has never really gone away. From the moment Rowling made headlines in 2020 for views on sex and gender, the cast of Harry Potter was pulled into the fray. Emma Watson, Daniel Radcliffe, and Rupert Grint all issued statements that distance themselves from the author who created the wizarding world and their young careers. Rowling, for her part, didn't back down. Now we have this here to where Watson is, apologizing for everything that she's done or whatever. It's like, we can be friends again, right? Well, J.K. Rowling's not having it. This is what Emma Watson had to say about the whole thing where she stands with J.K. Rowling and all that great stuff. So, without further ado, let's go.
Really don't believe that by having had that experience and holding the love and support and views that I have mean that I can't and don't treasure Jo and the person that I had personal experiences with. I will never believe that one negates the other, and that my experience of that person I don't get to keep and cherish. To come back to our earlier thing, I just don't think these things are either or. I think it's my deepest wish that I hope people who don't agree with my opinion will love me, and I hope I can keep loving people who I don't necessarily share the same opinion with.
Yeah, so that's what she had to say there, where she stands with J.K. Rowling. But of course, J.K. Rowling's not having it. And this might be a little bit out of the touch or maybe a little bit of crazy here, but let me do a little bit of recap where Emma Watson, and as we said, or all this over here, has pretty much done this, where she's just gone out and just defended the trans community, where she's gone out and said this, like, trans people who they say they are and deserve to live their lives without being constantly questioned or told they aren't who they say they are. And this was with her on what she says. She says, I want my trans followers to know that I and so many other people around the world see you, respect you, and love you who you are. And that is the type of thing that she's saying with the whole trans people, because again, back in those days, it was fair and great to say, because this was back in 2020. Well, the political shift has shifted massively since then, and J.K. Rowling has this to say about this. She says, I am seeing quite a bit of comment about this, so I want to make a couple of points. I'm not owed internal agreement for any actor who once played a character I created. The idea is as ludicrous as me checking with the boss I had when I was 21 for what opinions I should hold these days. Emma Watson and her co-stars have every right to embrace gender identity ideology. Such beliefs are legally protected, and I wouldn't want to see any of them threatened with the loss of work or violence or death because of them. However, Emma and Dan in particular have both made it clear over the last few years that they think our former professional association gives them a particular right, nay obligation, to critique me and my views in public. Years after they finished acting in Potter, they continued to assume the role of de facto spokespeople for the world I created. When you've known people since they were 10 years old, it's hard to shake a certain protectiveness. Until quite recently, I hadn't managed to throw off the memory of children who needed to be greatly coaxed through their dialogue in a big, scary film studio. For the past few years, I repeatedly declined invitations from journalists to comment on Emma specifically, most notably on the witch trials of J.K. Rowling. Ironically, I told the producers that I didn't want her to be hounded as the result of anything I said. A television presenter in the attached clip highlights Emma's all witches speech, and in truth, that was a turning point for me. But it had a postscript that hurt far more than the speech itself. Emma asked someone to pass on a handwritten note from her to me, which contained the single sentence, "I'm so sorry for what you're going through. She has my phone number." This was back when the death, rape, and torture threats against me were at their peak, at a time when my personal security measures had to be tightened considerably, and I was constantly worried for my family's safety. Emma had just publicly poured more petrol on the flames, yet thought an online expression of concern from her would reassure me of her fundamental sympathy and kindness. As it goes on to see here, like other people who have never experienced adult life uncushioned by wealth and fame, Emma has so little experience of real life, she's ignorant of how ignorant she is. She'll never need a homeless shelter. She's never going to be placed on a mixed-sex public hospital ward. I've been astounded if she's been in a high-street changing room since childhood. Her public bathroom is a single occupancy and comes with a security man standing guard outside the door. He has had to strip off in a newly Has she had to strip off in a newly mixed-sex changing room at a council-running swimming pool? Is she ever likely to need a state-run Great Crisis Center that refuses to guarantee an all-female service? To find herself sharing a prison cell with a male rapist who's identified into the woman's prison? That's what she said here. And let me go here and talk about a little bit of Emma Watson's past. And it seems to be likely as well, guys, that Emma Watson would probably never have to deal with very much hardship, mostly because of the fact that her hardship in particular is of little consequence, because she had a parents. She was unfortunately her parents apparently unfortunately divorced when she was 5 years old, which is bad for any child for that matter. I don't wish that on any child, but that just doesn't seem to be the case. Emma Watson's parents were very wealthy, and through their legal careers, and they were lawyers, and they aimed to keep Emma and her brother grounded despite their privileged background, attending to prestigious dragon school in Oxfordshire. So again, these are liberties or things that I would never actually have access to, and I'm not saying that I'm not privileged, because I know in my certain circumstances that I am privileged compared to a lot of people. However, this does not mean that this woman would have very much hardship at all going through life, and her having to experience what J.K. Rowling would have to go through is bar none almost impossible. So again, this is something that Emma Watson would never have to face, would never have to deal with, because she's never had to go through these hardships, and she most likely never would have ever had to go through these hardships compared to J.K. Rowling. And this is a lot of these things that these child actors or these very rich famed people that are raised in a very rich childhood have experience. They don't realize the world that is down for other people. They think that they do, but they don't. And they have such a high privilege that they see a world in a completely different. Like, rich people live in a completely different world than normal people like me and you do, quite honestly. And that's just kind of the reality. And J.K. Rowling goes on to say here that I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. I therefore understand from my own life experience what the trashing of women's rights, in which Emma has so enthusiastically participated, means to women and girls without her privileges. The greatest irony here is that had Emma not decided in her most recent interview to declare that she loves and treasures me, a change of tack I suspect she's adopted because she's noticed full-throated condemnation of me is no longer quite as fashionable as it was. I might never have been this honest. Adults can't expect to cozy up to an activist movement that regularly calls for a friend's assassination, then assert their right to the former friend's love as though the friend was in fact their mother. Emma is rightfully free to disagree with me and indeed to discuss her feelings about me in public. But I have the same right, and I've finally decided to exercise it. So yeah, J.K. Rowling goes out and goes full scorched earth on Emma Watson. And rightfully so. Because again, these people, these Hollywood actors, these childhood Hollywood actors, some of them have been abused, and I mean like in bad ways. So I'm not saying that Emma wasn't abused. However, it's just hysterical because these people, what they do, guys, is that they play the victim. They toe the line, specifically with celebrities. They try to toe the line what's good or strong within the moment, and going against that. They don't have any values. They have no morals because they just go as what's best at the time, and they go with that. Well, this is the problem with Emma Watson is hypocrite. She can't go back because the mob is just going to go out and attack her, and then she can't really ally with J.K. Rowling or anybody else because again, when your friend is being bullied or attacked, I can disagree with them and everything that they said, right? And that's one thing. And I'll go out to the defense like, hey guys, I know me and my friend disagree with this type of thing, but I don't want them to go out being attacked. That's not okay. And the fact is that Emma Watson compiled onto this while J.K. Rowling was having probably one of her worst moments in her life, which we learned that the leftists are always this crazy, are always this sane. They are actually inherently violent. And Emma Watson just kind of just shrugged off J.K. Rowling's suffering, and now all of a sudden she's all like, "Oh, now I want to, now I want you to feel bad for me. I never meant to be hurtful to you or whatever." It's just kind of a joke, and yeah, I'm gonna be the same way. If a friend treats me that badly, and then they come crawling back only because certain circumstances are better for them to come crawling back to, yeah, I'm gonna say F you. You don't really mean it. The only reason why you're like this or why you're crawling back is because the circumstances are in your favor now. Like they're going to benefit you if you do this. So yeah, I can understand why J.K. Rowling wants nothing to do with Emma Watson. And as I said, a lot of these celebrities, they live in a completely different world, and they don't understand the life that other normal people have to go through because $500, hell, $20,000 for these celebrities, it's practically nothing. Where $20,000 for either me or you can change our entire lives. Like it's not the same thing here. So again, these celebrities live these very privileged lifestyles. It's crazy that Emma Watson tried to come back to this. So yeah, J.K. Rowling's not having it. I understand it, and again, I'm not saying I agree with J.K. Rowling's all political points because I definitely do not, but that doesn't mean that she does not have the right to address her opinion, address her thing to Emma Watson, and not want to be aligned with somebody that obviously treated so-called her friend like trash because the times was against her and she wanted to side with that, but now everything that's been changed, well, now she wants to be friends with J.K. Rowling because she won't get backlash. No, it's time for not to play nice with these people, and all more power to J.K. Rowling. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, guys, share. As always, take care, my friends.